We're such a small group. But seems like I know I do the schedule, but I don't necessarily plan it accordingly. But it seems like I end up giving exhortations often, either right at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. And so it brings up an interesting time to reflect and look forward. And today's exhortation is entitled, Every Day is a New Day. And the concept is clear. So I'd like to start from the beginning, and that's creation. And that God created the heavens and the earth. He created every living thing. He created man. And this is the beginning of it all. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. So as we walk through this exhortation, I just ask that you kind of keep that in mind, that for everything to occur, the old does need to pass away. It ends. If you, Genesis 1:31, no need to turn there. Genesis 1:31 reads, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." Not just good, very good. "And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day." So, if we break down a few things, we see the magnificence of it all. There's a beginning and an end to the day. We wake up, we go through our morning routines, we process through the day, whether we're going to school, we're going to work, doing our readings, eating our meals, giving thanks to God, all those different things that it is filled with. And then we go to sleep. And something happens during that period of time. The day ends, and and the day begins. And we go through this for a week. Some of us are paid weekly. So some of us, our weeks, maybe in our minds, begin and end with payday. Got to pay the bills, right? Got to pay the man. Some of those are bi-weekly. Some of those are monthly. My world is governed by months. And because I have when I start a loan to when I end a loan, usually takes about 30 days. I have end of month things to deal with. So my world, I wish it wasn't monthly because it seems like the months fly by a lot faster because my beginning and ends are such. Then there's the year, as we just had. So many New Year's resolutions. As we sat New Year's Eve as a family, we sat around and discussed what were the accomplishments of the year prior. Did we accomplish our goals that we set forth the previous New Year? Some yes, some we'll work on it this year. But the point is there was a definitive point of that we've made in our minds. The beginning of a year is the end of the year prior. Birthdays. Just celebrated a birthday. Whether spiritual or natural. We have a tendency to, in our birthdays, to imagine what is it that I wanted to accomplish with my life. It's a little different than that annual New Year's Eve type thing. That's more like goals and different things. But when it's our birthday, when it's our physical, our natural birthday, we have a tendency to put a little bit more of a emphasis on self-awareness, self-accountability. Like, what did I do this year with my life? At least for me, it's the annual, the natural birthday is a little bit more than the calendar year. Well, what about different key points of our lives? We've got Natalie and Lily here. Every day's a new day for them. It's clear. Every day's got new challenges. Every day's got new beginnings, like, oh, this discovery of this and discovery of that. Learning new words, learning how sentences are structured, learning new math, learning all these different things. It's just so clear the younger we are. And then as we get older and older and older and older, to where we start rounding up in the change bucket and just putting dollar bills, then it's like, okay, wait a minute. It's not as clear that what is new each day until we make major moves, whether that's moving locations, finding God, or it's just seeing the newness in other people's lives, or it's just a self-reflection of what is going on, what am I doing where I can still be better? Because not one person in this room, not one person on this earth could not stand to be better. And so every day we take this step forward, this step towards perfection, this step towards how Christ would handle things. The little bracelets, WWJD, what would Jesus do in this situation? Call it cliche, call it cheesy. The reality is that. What would he do in this situation? How would he have handled that? I know I ask myself that a lot. Our daily actions are key measures of our growth, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is the outward proof of where we are. This is where people see us. Are we so spiritually immature that we handle ourselves in a way where people are like, man, you were a Christian, like, I met you like 10 years ago and you haven't changed. Nobody in this room, again, can be to the point of being so spiritually mature that they can't grow. Each one of us should be different today than we were last year, or last month, or last week. Hopefully, yesterday. That might be a little narrow. Colossians 3, 9 through 11 reads, "Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all." So clearly, our daily actions need to reflect the desire for that growth, that desire to end something and begin another thing. Not the same thing, another thing. When we look at little ones, there's something I was always kind of amazed at. Like, you have preschool. I didn't have preschool, so I started, like, kindergarten was the start of school, and that was that. Then you go to first grade. Kindergarten, you're kind of separated. First grade, now you're in with all the big kids. You start off at first, and you work your all the way up to sixth grade. This is, again, Minnesota, sixth grade. Then all of a sudden you go to seventh grade and you move to another building. Now you're that little kid again. New beginning, and middle school, the funnest part of your life. And then you work your way all the way up to 12th grade. Now you're the king of the rock again. Then you graduate. Then you go back to being a freshman in college. Now you got all the big kids again. And then you work your way up to senior year of college. You're the big kid again. Then you go start your new job. Now you're the apprentice, and you got to work your way up to the next thing. It's just a constant set of reset and growth. Reset and growth. Well, we do that in our both academic lives, our what's the word for vocational lives. What about our spiritual lives? Where are we to keep, to stop learning? I don't need to just simply look at, say, our brother Ron or brother Ted for my growth, brother George, brother Sherman, these who are been spiritually, both age and spiritually more on their path than I am. They're more mature in that. I also have to look at the younger ones. Don't forget brother Mike over there. But I have to also look to the youth. We talked about it in one of our studies, and I believe Rocco was with Rocco and Rebecca said something in the terms of sometimes we don't recognize how the youth can teach us things. We get stuck in our ways. It's all about this. But there's things going on that maybe even us older ones can be enlightened by the younger ones. So that's that constant refresh and renew. So every day is a new day. So where does this concept come from? How are we freed from our discretions of yesterday? If I make a mistake financially, or I make a mistake vocationally, I have to pay the price. There will be a consequence. And I probably will not like that consequence. There's always consequences to our actions. But in our spiritual life, things are a bit different. 2 Corinthians 5:17 reads, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, and behold, the new has come." That's the point. That's the point of it all. So, two scriptures really go together in this. You have 2 Corinthians 5:17 in the New Testament, but what about before? Let's look at Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 through 24. "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases." Steadfast being patience. The patience of the Lord never ceases. "His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him." So, we can see the patience and mercy that the Lord shows us. So much to the point that he gave his son as a representation of that mercy. So we see that clearly, how every day we're supposed to go on to something new. Well, what about the end? As I had stated, to keep in mind. What about the end? What about our past? Do not hold on to the things of the past. There's a fine line between remembering our past in order to learn from it, which is obviously important, as opposed compared to the holding on to our past in order to harbor pain, negative feelings, ammunition. And I say that for the newlyweds, or the soon-to-be newlyweds, in marriage. Holding on to things to use as ammunition towards one another. There's another new thing I forgot to mention. Marriage. The life of coming together with one another. You spend all these years as yourself. Now you've become one. And now you've got to go through this arm in arm together. That's new. There has to be a death to the old. There has to be an ending to that person. Not to say you lose yourself and all that other kind of stuff. I don't mean that. But I mean your priorities, all your different things are fresh. They're new. Hanging out with the boys or hanging out with the girls, the ladies' nights, the guys going out and doing things. It's those things go away. Because you get to the path where you start having kids. And with the kids, the priorities are just so much different. But not holding on to the things of the past to use as ammunition to one another. Remember when you did this? Remember when you did that? Well, you did, you just go nowhere. So you have to be able to put those things back. But you have to remember, I shouldn't do that because that had a negative consequence. You see the fine line? Isaiah 43:18-19. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So he has a path for us. Don't be confused and say, oh, all those old teachings of the Bible. Now we're in a more, as we talked about in our Sunday school, in a more progressive society. This is okay, and this is okay, and this is okay. No, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying that these things of the old are important. We have to remember those things because they're viable. They're clear lines of right and wrong. But in today's day and age, there's different ways that we have to deal with things. Different ways that we have to the way our parents dealt with us is different than how I'm dealing with mine. There's different the technologies and social medias and all these different things. It's just completely different. So, another interesting aspect is this. Think of the glory that this is. Our body is in a constant state of decay. Everyone in this room, to be crude about it, is rotting away. Everyone in this room has parts of them, are getting wrinkles. Muscles are becoming weaker. Eyesight becomes impaired. Bones become more brittle. Hair turns gray. Coordination. Look at the difference between Carlos and I on the soccer field. Big difference in 27 years. Of course, I never really had that skill, but nonetheless, we'll blame it on age. Makes me feel good. But each day is still a fresh beginning, even for the older. A day of new decisions, ones that are made with the knowledge of yesterday, and ones that have spiritually matured, and ones that can help us and those around us. So every day is a new opportunity. Even though our bodies are doing one thing, our minds and our spiritual journey are doing another. They talk about, I don't know if I already mentioned this before. They talk about in hunting that there's 5 stages. There's the I want to kill something. There's I want to kill a trophy. There's I can't remember all of them, but it ends in the fifth one is you get joy in taking people who've never hunted before, or taking young ones and introducing it to them. I went out on New Year's Day with somebody. He had already gotten his deer on Christmas Day, and he just wanted to take somebody out and give them the first opportunity to go after a deer. So he took me to his spots, and that's where I took Mom yesterday on her birthday. We went up there and drove around again. But it was he found joy in doing that, knowing I was new out here. Well, what about in a spiritual aspect? Where can we find the joy in teaching those that are younger than us? I don't mean younger than us in age, but younger than us in spirituality. The joy of bringing somebody along the journey. And what more of an incredible journey is that than anything that this world has to provide? 2 Corinthians 4:16-17. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. Day by day, it's being renewed. For this light, momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. Everything going on, every trial and tribulation that we all go through is setting us up for the one glory. A glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. So you can see that it's beneficial to have a knowledge and have a reflection of the former. But knowing that each and every single moment, whether you're refreshed and renewed means New Year's Eve, your birthday, end of month, beginning of month, payday, waking up in the morning, an hour from now, or every single moment, every single minute. It's a constant growth. It's a constant push forward. It's a constant desire to be better. Nothing worse than being stagnant. When you look at water flowing in a river, or water that's these golf courses and different things, when it's just stagnant water, it becomes gross. That's when all the algae grows in, scum starts growing on the top, gets all stinky, full of bugs. That's stagnation. That's what happens when you're not moving forward. And they've learned that what they do then is they put a pipe in one end and a pipe out the other, and they keep constant water flow going. And that stops it. Because you gotta move forward. So, Revelation 21, 1-4. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them as their God, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. And death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. So, as Scripture consistently shows its completeness, with Genesis at the beginning referencing the creation and the ultimate beginning, Revelation wraps everything up. We see in chapter 21 a new heaven and a new earth and the passing of the old. Isn't this significant? Isn't this significant of our baptisms? The new beginning and passing away of the old. There is no going back. You can't unlearn what you already know. You can, however, ignore it. You can deny it. You can delay it. But what you can't do is make it go away. The truth is the truth. The reality is the reality. God's not going anywhere. The salvation that is laid before us, the sacrifice that was made for us, is not going away. It will always be there. So let's all, hand in hand, together, helping each other with this fellowship that we have, calling each other brothers and sisters, help each other to constantly move forward. Don't get caught up in the weird little bickerings and the weird little nuances of man that we all are. We all have that human thing inside us. Let's not do that. Let's not focus on what's in it for me. What can I do for them? Not, what did I get out of this? What did they get out of this? And when we start doing that, when we start refreshing and renewing that part and helping others become refreshed and renewed, then we are truly on the path of not stagnation, but growing in Christ.